Hello everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this new episode of the Food Science Addict podcast. In this podcast, we aim at discovering food science topics for those of you who already know what food science is, and also for those of you who are not sure about it. Listen to us while we unravel the mystery and wonders of food science, from ingredients functionalities to novel technologies to novel foods and much more. Did you ever notice whenever you go to a restaurant with some of your friends, some of them are able to withstand more bitter food than you do, while others actually are able to enjoy bitter food? This is about food taste, but also about our taste sensitivity. If you're one of those people who cannot stand at all bitter food, then you know what? You might be a supertaster. Supertaster is not the name of a new superhero, and for sure, or maybe not, it will not be featured in the next Marvel movie. But you should know that the supertasters are hiding among us, and you might be one as well. The term supertaster has been initially used by Professor Linda Bartoshuk. She's an American psychologist, and she specializes in genetic variations in taste perception. So what she said is that while taste buds are located on our tongue, it's only when taste interacts with other type of senses, like for example, smell and nerve stimulation, that actually we are able to determine and perceive flavor. Now, Professor Bartoshuk, what she did was just using a bitter chemical compound, which we normally call PROP, P-R-O-P, and she used that in order to classify the population according to their ability to taste such bitter compounds. She divided consumers into three groups: non-tasters, which is 25% of the population, tasters, which is the 50% of the population, and then supertasters, 25% of population. The supertaster has a particular sensitivity to react negatively to a narrow group of compounds and seems to have a greater than normal number of taste buds papillae on their tongue. And this actually can influence the way they experience flavor and the reason why they experience flavor with higher intensity than non-tasters and tasters. They not only perceive bitterness at a higher rate, but also sweetness and creaminess of fatty foods. And having more taste buds means there are also more pain receptors. And that's why supertasters often cannot handle spicy foods, and generally they tend to avoid anything that is bitter. And as a result, they tend to be a little bit picky. Now, more taste buds on our tongue, more than the average consumer, means that we also have more pain receptors. And this is the reason why many supertasters cannot stand spicy foods as well, and they, of course, avoid everything that has a bitter taste. So most of the times, these can look like picky eaters. So they might be one of those people who actually you hate because they cannot choose between a restaurant or the other one, or because, it just makes it difficult for them to be able to choose a determined food that is not causing them any issues. And I think that if you're not a supertaster, it's difficult to understand. Now, because these supertasters actually cannot stand bitterness, and this is something that now it's set in stone, they tend to avoid foods like dark chocolate, black coffee, broccoli, Brussels sprouts. Sometimes they also tend to avoid alcohol. What researchers think is that this supersensitivity to bitter tastes may serve as an evolutionary purpose to protect people from potentially harmful substances, and this applies to tasters as well. Now, bitterness, in fact, has also a nutritional implication, since it is generally thought to protect us from toxins, which are most of the times also associated with bitter tastes. In consumer behavior sciences, researchers are focusing on the supertaster profiles, and actually they're looking into their behavior related to food preference. Latour and co-workers have published a paper in the Journal of Advertising Research, and highlighted how supertasters are not only more sensitive to bitterness, but seek sweet food and present higher loyalty to products and brands than other consumers. An interesting way to attract the supertaster segment by the use of advertising is to use language that highlights the mellowness of the product's taste. So this is also a marketing strategy. But let's look into what you're actually interested in, because by now you're asking yourself whether you are a supertaster or not. So how do you know if you are a supertaster? Now, first of all, if your reaction to bitterness and spicy foods is a little bit intense, maybe this is some kind of confirmation that you might be a supertaster. But in any case, you have another method that you can put in place, and you can also do that at home in order to double check if you are actually a supertaster or not. So basically, if you have any blue food coloring at home, you can do something like that and try to see if you are a supertaster. So first of all, what you need to do is take in this blue food coloring. If you don't have it in your cupboard, you can easily buy a small bottle at any supermarket really. And you just use this blue food coloring by swabbing it on your tongue. Of course, you might need to swallow a couple of times, but afterwards, after you swab this blue food coloring on your tongue for a while, you will notice that you will have these really nice tiny round circles on your tongue. Okay, so you can look at yourself on the mirror, or you can just use your phone. So basically, these type of round circles tend to look like mushrooms, and they tend to stay pink. Okay, they're not colored in blue. So those circles are the fungiform papillae, and they hold your taste buds. And actually, you can count them with any magnifying glass, or you can just take a picture of your colored tongue and then just count the fungiform papillae from there. Now, if you have more than 30 taste buds in a space on your tongue that is similar to the size of a hole from one of those hole punch machines, so you can just take any type of paper, you can produce a hole, you can put it on your colored tongue, you can take a picture, and then you can start counting how many of those fungiform papillae you have. If you have more than 30, then you can be considered a supertaster. Now, the average person has from 15 to 30 of those ones, okay? And just fewer of us have just 15 or a lower number, and those are considered non-tasters. So in case of this non-taster situation, what these people need is just to add a little bit more spice and flavor to the food that they eat in order to actually make it possible for them to taste good food. Okay, so basically this is a really simple method that you can try and do at home. So I'm pretty sure that you're all going to have a look at your cupboards looking for blue food coloring. And if you try to make this experiment at home, just let us know, because we are really curious. I actually tried to do the same, and I did it a couple of weeks ago, and unfortunately, no, I'm not a supertaster. Kind of looks like I might be a non-taster, but I don't really trust that. So I think I might need to do that again. Thank you so much for joining us for this new episode of The Food Science Addict. If you have any questions or any doubts, do not hesitate and send an email to thefoodscienceaddict@outlook.com or send a DM to our Instagram @thefoodscienceaddict. This podcast has been produced thanks to the help of some of the University of Surrey students, and you will be meeting some of them in the next episodes. But until then, take care and goodbye.